Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima and I'm here checking out Squareboy vs Bullies Arena Edition. It's another mobile port from Vita. So, there's not actually that much to see out here. We have an options menu, but all it has is some music and sound effects and a language option, and honestly the language options aren't really needed. The story is very easy to understand even if you don't have any of the text boxes that the game puts up. We do have an extra menu here where you can come see your trophies, and I've got almost all of them. The only ones I don't have are the one that requires you to fight the second boss, and the ones that require you to fight the second boss, the third boss, and beat the game. So, getting all the trophies in this game is super easy. You could have it done within an hour and a half if you really want to, and it's got a platinum. You do have an arena mode, which lets you play a sort of survival mode on one screen, and you just got to get a specific amount of enemies dead before you can move up to the next set of levels, but we won't worry too much about that unless I play a story level or two and find that the game is a bit behind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop into the story straight away. I've been playing for about an hour. I more or less tripped the hour mark on the Vita's live area screen when I started recording this video. And as you can see, game doesn't have that many levels. As I said before, you can finish the game in an hour and a half. So don't go in expecting like a massive campaign out of this, you know? The fact that the game is like only $2.99 though, or something like that, it's really cheap, actually helps out with this. But anyway, we're going to go play the ship deck, which will be both the second boss and the just a regular level at the same time, because you fight the bosses at the very end of the levels. You do get a little tip from Sensei, and a couple of story cutscenes, but they are very simple. It's literally just, these guys are assholes. Your Sensei, who is an older version of the Squareboy, teaches you how to fight these assholes, and then they kidnap him. That's literally the entire story so far. There is nothing even remotely surprising about it. So let's get on to the actual surprising bit, which is the gameplay, and surprisingly enough, how fun it is. So, it's a beat 'em up, a pretty basic beat 'em up. You've got two buttons, attack and jump, and you have a bunch of different moves you can do, depending on what buttons you input before you press the square button, which is your attack button. You also have the ability to pick up weapons and use them, but that's pretty basic stuff, really. And there's a crate that I can throw. It sticks out in the background, like those old Looney Tunes animations where you knew something was going to happen because the rest of that part of the screen was super bright. But yeah, basic controls are really simple. Your square button is your main attack, and depending on what directional button you press, you can use either the D-pad or the analog stick to move. I obviously prefer the analog stick in this case. The D-pad, I mean, because it's a bloody beat 'em up. So, the moves you've got are up and square are an uppercut, down square are a kick like that. You can double tap to do a dash attack, which is almost invincible. It doesn't take any effect from ranged attacks. You do also have a grab. If you get close and press the square button, you'll grab them and you can do some kicks to the pelvis for a little bit of extra damage. You can also press down, down, square, which will do it's not a roundhouse kick, I'm sorry, it's a leg sweep. And you can also press up, up, and square, which will do a bloody clothesline spinny punch. That's pretty much your entire moveset, more or less. Like, if I hit the start button here, you can go into the move list. See? That is pretty much every... Well, there's all your moves. That is pretty much every move you have. That's the entire thing. You do have a counter for when you're being trapped by a bunch of people, and of course a drop kick. But seriously, you've seen pretty much every move the game has to offer. It's a very simple beat 'em up. I will admit, like, it is definitely not Dragon's Crown. There's very little in the way of weapons. The enemy types are, well, they are different. There are different kinds of enemies, and they will do different things. Like, the blue caps will throw out baseballs. These ones with the pans on their head will pull the pan off for bonus damage. They will use it as a melee weapon. You unfortunately can't take it off their head and use it against them, which kind of sucks actually, but oh well. The mafioso bullies will actually fire guns at you, which do as much damage as throwing baseballs, which is a little odd. Also notably, you can actually hit projectiles back if you're using the chain, which is kind of neat. You can also use the club, as you saw a few seconds ago, to hit people on the other side of you. So it's a very simple beat 'em up, as I said before, but the thing about it is that it's actually really satisfying. Like, the sound effects and stuff are all pretty basic Game Boy stuff, But the effects are good, the frame rate is high, it doesn't drop very much except for one particular thing which we'll get onto shortly. That all the different enemies that are crowding around you make it satisfying to just keep them apart and attack them one at a time, or if you've got a chain like this, two at a time. And it's just quite satisfying to play. Like, I know it's weird, like, I'm kind of surprised that they actually picked a game that's surprisingly responsive and fun to play, but it really is. It's surprisingly enjoyable, because it's reactive, it's responsive, and whenever you fuck up by, say, grabbing someone in the middle of, like, 3 people and you get the shit knocked out of you, it's your fault and you definitely feel it. So it's definitely an engaging time. It does do all the basic beat-em-up stuff right, which is nice effects, nice combat, a decent amount of enemy variety, not too much. It could do with a little bit more, but at the same time, I'm not complaining about what's here. It's got a decent amount of enemy variety, and the general feel of the game is definitely up to par. It is way more enjoyable than I thought it would have any right to be, because it's a rather like a game, and I've been playing a couple of those recently, and, well, let me put it this way, they haven't had the best taste of late, so for this one to actually come out as half decent is a real surprise, and I'm actually quite enjoying it. Ow. Eat crate, bastards. I wasn't gonna let you get away with throwing a baseball at me, mate. There's the counter move because I'm a little bit low on health, but thankfully there's a health pack right there, so the game's levels are quite short. This is probably one of the longer levels in the entire game. You do get, like, your health back up as well, and you do have a score counter up there, but you don't have to play through the entire game in, like, one sitting in order to register a... I don't even think there is a high scoreboard, which is a little odd considering that they kind of rely on that, but as I was saying, the game does let you continue pretty much immediately from the level you died on, and you don't lose your score or anything, so it's absolutely fine. Like, the level design in terms of, like, checkpoint layout and stuff is fine and dandy. I have absolutely no problem with it. Maybe the fact that they're a little bit boring. I mean, visually the game looks pretty good. I mean, for like a 2D beat 'em up, it definitely does the job. And I love the design of the bullies. Like, they look threatening, but they also look ridiculous and cute at the same time, which is kind of great. I'm quite impressed with the design of all the bullies, especially the boss ones, because they look silly, but it's just a nice game to look at. It doesn't make my eyes bleed like some 2D artsy-fartsy indie games that have come along in the past. So yeah, that's pretty good. And it runs pretty well too, for the most part. See, the game, at the very beginning, the game lagged up a lot pretty much every time I landed a move. Then it slowly started improving, then it started happening again. And I'm trying to figure out what the bloody hell is going on. Because the game would literally just stop for like a second or so after you did a hit or killed an enemy, and it was weird. Like, I couldn't figure out why it was happening, but then I did figure it out. By default, on this Vita, which is my recording Vita, obviously, I don't have trophies turned on. I don't have the little notifications pop up because I think they're a little bit annoying in terms of watching the gameplay video. But the game is one of those really weird ones where it really likes to put emphasis on the trophies that you've earned. You want to know how it does that? By literally freezing the game for a quarter, not even a quarter, a half of a second once you get one. And when 7 of your trophies are literally hit the dude with a specific move, the game will just absolutely chuck a shit at the beginning just because of that. It's really weird. I don't know why he thought it was a good idea to do it that way. Maybe because he thought that everybody would have the trophy notifications on by default, which honestly not that bad of an assumption, but it really weirded me out. I jumped right into that. I really did. But I mean, otherwise the game runs absolutely fine. I haven't noticed anything in the way of performance issues or control issues or anything of the sort. So, you know, it works absolutely fine. As far as I can tell, anyway. I mean, I've been through 2/3 of the game already. You'd think I'd know by this point. I was acting a little weird here, but then again, I had no choice but to move into them, so maybe they were acting really smart. Nevertheless. And I'll give it credit for having, like, decent chiptunes. I mean, they're not particularly amazing, but they don't make my ears bleed either. I mean, I've had my eyes bleed and I've had my ears bleed recently. That's not very good. But yes, the game's just overall style and presentation is absolutely fine. Like, I honestly don't have that much of a problem with it. I mean, I'm not particularly amazed by it, but considering it's a 2D beat-em-up, I'm willing to let it go, and I'm willing to let it go on that, and it's surprisingly impressive how it's just decent for the price it is. Was this game made by one guy? I think it might have been. I mean, it was ported by Rather Like a Games, as I said earlier in the intro, but if it is, I'll be definitely more impressed with that. You know, this would have actually worked better as a Game Boy game. I mean, in just, like, presentation-wise. Like, 2 buttons, relatively simple gameplay, and a palette that you could very easily convert to... I'm gonna throw this. See how the game just froze there for a second? That was the game deciding that I earned a trophy. I know that's weird. Like, seriously, that just stopped frame there. That was not the kit. That was not the game. Well, it was the game. It was not my Vita. It was the game. Really freaking weird. I don't know why it insists on doing that, but it does. But yeah, this is the boss fight, by the way. Boss fights aren't really that impressive. They're literally just mooks with more health. And as you see, the game just froze there again when I finished them off. And there's what's obviously the final boss. Beating the ever-loving bejesus out of me. It's really basic writing. It's a little bit weird sometimes too, but... weird in the sense that it's obviously been translated from a foreign language by someone who doesn't have a 100% grasp on the English language, but that's fine. It's absolutely fine. I would show you the arena mode, but it's literally just more of that, just with enemies coming in from the left and right. So yeah, you get your little score bonuses and stuff here, and you get a secret tip. But I'll just skip the cutscene there. I would show you what the arena looks like, but it's literally just that, just in one screen. So yeah, I mean, I really don't have much else to say about it, except it's actually pretty good, and if you've got $3 spare, I don't see any reason not to pick it up. It will keep you entertained for an hour. And I am actually thoroughly surprised that I like it as much as I do. So, you know, if that isn't a recommendation, I don't know what is. For $3, you really could do a lot worse, as you'll probably be about to find out with my video on a game called Alteric. But yeah, this has been Blue Maxima, and I will see you all next time.